From the After 9 podcast studios, this is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Am I ready?
Are you ready?
Happy motherfucking Friday!
We could probably just tape that and drop it in for days when you're missing your voice.
I should.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to After 9. Today is a slightly different episode because I know it's Friday and you guys love Dave on the pod on Friday. He is screwing around again. I don't know where he's traveling to now, but he's not here. So it's just Kat and I today, but that's okay. That's why you listen in the first place, I hope.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Kat's voice is about to leave us at any point. I'm surprised she made it through the Happy M&F Friday.
It was so, I had to do it at a certain octave because that one's still lingering. This one right here, which is why I might sound deeper than usual. But if I go up, I'm going to lose control. Today, it was very exciting when we get the chance to give away a trip. We love doing it. One of our favorite things to do is just make listeners happy. And hey, it's not us that's able to provide it, so why not have great clients like Sunwing do that? We called our grand prize winner, and my voice totally cracked telling her she won a trip. You're going to Mexico. Awful. So it's 1 foot out the door today, my voice. Which is not good when you do this for a living, by the way. But I swear, this time every year, Scott, it always happens where it says goodbye for a bit. I'm knocking on stuff. I'm hoping it's just for a bit. And after we get through the pod, I'm totally going to try to rest my voice up completely so that I'm back and ready to go on Monday. Let's hope.
Are you at all worried? You have a trip coming up next week. Have we talked about that in the pod? I don't know that we have.
I think we talked about. Did we talk about it?
You're gonna get some solo Scott next week, a little bit, guys.
You will. I'm off to Vegas. It's my 10-year wedding anniversary, so we're going back to the scene of the crime, if you will. And
congratulations, by the way, 10 years.
Thank you. Yeah, 10 years married, 19 years together.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years married. We've now officially. We realized this the other day. We've now officially been in each other's lives equal amounts without and with.
Really?
As of this year.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so half our lives. We've spent half our lives together.
People might wonder about that because we don't typically talk too much about our significant others. Mm-hmm. But we could let you guys know that if you're a new listener, Kat married her high school sweetheart, and they're still married 10 years later, but 19 years together. Are you taking the kids? Because they weren't around when you were there to get married.
No.
Oh, this is a grown-up trip.
I would never take my kids to Vegas. Bless your soul if you do. And I see people with their strollers. I don't understand it myself. Vegas is not somewhere I'd ever take my children. Ever, ever, ever. Because why? Maybe teenagers, when they're teenagers. But not now. Absolutely not.
See, I think I'd rather take younger kids than take teenagers. Teenagers in Vegas, there's a little less to do than for young kids. There's attractions in Vegas for families. I find there's not as much for teens. If you want to keep teens occupied on a vacation, either do an all-inclusive or go on a cruise. I don't think Vegas is a great place for teens because they're too young to do all the fun stuff, but they're too old to do the young stuff.
But I'd ask what fun stuff there even is for the kids. If you're talking about circus, they might as well go play in the sewer. That place is fucking gross. I would never take my kids there. Anyway, look, that's me. Honest to God, I would never take my children there. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything that great for them to do. I know there's some attractions, you're absolutely right, but mom and dad want to spend time doing things that we want to do where kids can't be. So that's our go-to adulting place is Vegas. We'll take them to Florida or something. They're fine for now.
Kids are easy.
Yeah.
Hey, did you pick out a restaurant yet for your anniversary dinner?
So, you know what?
Because you have a lot of great options in Vegas.
I know we do. And I want to go with one that's not even top tier for my 10-year because we've done all the Gordon Ramsay spots you can imagine. That's one of our favorites is Inside Paris is where you can
Gordon Ramsay steak.
There's lots of them, though. There's also Hell's Kitchen and all those places.
I was there for dinner one night, and I got so lucky because that winner from years and years and years ago that still works as his head chef happened to come out of the kitchen when I was there.
That is cool.
It was amazing.
You don't get that often. I got the Gordon Ramsay autographed menu, so I still have it, but he wasn't there in person. It was just this is a special whatever that he did. He was here last week or something, so I got that the last time, and that made me happy, even though Gordon Ramsay wasn't even there. I wanted to go to Vanderpump, which is the new one Inside Paris by Lisa Vanderpump. We all know Vanderpump Rules. You've at least heard of the show.
What's the food like in there?
So it's more, I think it's more of a brunch spot though, is what I learned.
Oh.
So they're very popular for brunches, and this place is filled with fresh flowers all the time. It's expensive, I know that, but most places in Vegas are. But they fill it with fresh flowers. It looks like you're walking into literally a forest of flowers, and it just smells so fresh. I walked by it last time I was there, and I was like, that's on my list. So I wanted to do that, but then I realized, no, that's more of a brunch spot. So I'm going to go there with my brother and his wife too. at another time. I actually kind of want to. I've never been to a Benihana.
Oh,
So
go to
I know,
Benihana.
is that a lame and big 10-year anniversary thing? Because I just think I want to go to Benihana. I think that's all I want to do.
Wait, do they still have the one in Toronto at the Royal York?
I don't know, but I love that style. Every time I go on an all-inclusive trip, right? They usually have the offering.
The teppanyaki.
They have the offering, and I go and I like it. But this is like supposed to be like the cream of the crop one, and I love it so much. I love the experience of it. So I'm like, you know what? I think that's what I want to do. I don't know if it's lame that that's the one I want to do, but my husband's like, wherever you want to go. So I think we're doing that.
That's a good husband. That's usually how you get a one happy trip. Okay, so you're going to Vegas, and assuming your voice holds up here, we will finish off this episode of After 9, and then we're going to bail for the weekend, everybody, because we've been working our butts off the last couple of weeks. A couple of things I want to blow through here. Number one, it's an update from yesterday. Remember we talked about the bike lanes and how the transport minister announced that coming soon there will be legislation. When the legislature resumes, they'll introduce this bill, and it will pass because they have a majority government. This will require municipalities to ask the province's permission anytime they put in bike lanes where they have to take out a lane of traffic to put in the bike lane. We thought that's all it was, and some of the mayors were all humming and hawing because they've got their agenda of what they want to do with their city. And the premier would say, no, because you know what? There's too many drivers complaining. It's not good. We need the ability to restrict where they go. Yesterday, in a speech to the Empire Club, he went a step further. He said not only will municipalities have to ask before they can put in a bike lane that takes out a lane of traffic, we're going to order them to rip out the lanes that are blocking traffic. And this sets up a great situation where you've got this Ontario Federation of Municipalities or whatever they call themselves, and they all get together like a big gang. And traditionally, they've been able to go and try and bully Queen's Park. In this case, Queen's Park is laying down the law, as they have every right to do, because they also represent a big constituency in Ontario. And they're saying, no, you guys are crazy, putting in these bike lanes right down the middle of Main Street and getting big cities, main streets, down to one lane so that a bike lane can also be there that might see 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes an hour. I think Toronto, and we should specify this, Toronto, maybe even Kitchener and Hamilton and Ottawa, different than the rest of the province. Bigger cities, maybe they do have more need for bike lanes. But there's a lot of small towns that are getting real congested because of these bike lanes, and people have had enough. So the premier's telling the mayors, we've had enough. And since you won't listen to the people, we'll do it for you.
So what's the timeline on that? Was something I wasn't sure on. Are they saying like they'll be gone? Like this was the last season that you'll be able to use them on these streets? Or is this going to be like a several-year process?
I think it depends on the city and how cooperative they want to be. Let's keep in mind how this always works. Anytime that there's a conflict between the Ford government and anyone, they always sue. So the government is going to introduce a bill, and it's going to require those municipalities to ask permission to take out a lane of traffic to put in a bike lane. And he's going to order them to take out some of the bike lanes that are already there. That'll pass, like I said, because they've got a majority government. Then the mayors are going to kick up a huge fuss, and they're going to say words like overreach and blah, blah, blah. And when that doesn't work, they're going to go to court, and they're going to ask the court to decide if the province can tell the municipalities what to do. Now, the answer to that is a very simple and resounding, yes, they absolutely have the right to tell municipalities what to do. But they're going to drag it out and kick the can down the road and spend millions in legal fees to try and fight it, even though the outcome is inevitable. And one other thing here, we do have an opposition. Even though it's a majority government, we've still got Marit Stiles there leading the NDP and Bonnie Crombie leading the Liberals. I'd kind of like to hear them go in front of the cameras and say, hey, if we're elected, we're going to put the bike lanes back in. And I'm 99% confident none of them are going to say that.
Okay.
None of them are going to say it. If anything, they'll deflect and say, we'll give the mayors back the power to control their city. People are kind of sick of the way mayors are running their cities. That's why the province is getting involved. So I'm here for the drama of it all. We all know what's coming. They're going to make it a big, huge thing, and like they always do, and there's going to be court challenges and the whole 9 yards. But the end result, when we eventually get there, and again we will, is that hopefully traffic will flow a little bit better. Now, one of the interesting things that came up was in Toronto, where I do think it is a slightly different situation than most cities. So that being stated, Mayor Olivia Chow said she thinks the province should focus on transit. instead of worrying about bike lanes. She said they should get the Eglinton Crosstown LRT done. She's right. But she's not exclusively right. Yes, the province should absolutely be getting this Crosstown LRT done. In fact, it's shocking to me that someone who seems like a fairly efficient manager like Doug Ford is allowing Metrolinx to make a mockery. Is it Metrolinx? I don't know. Whoever's building this Crosstown is making an absolute mockery of the taxpayers and the money that's being spent on a line that's still not open, and God knows when it will be. It won't be before Christmas. We know that. I don't know why he's letting them get away with this. Doug, you should go in and fire every single one of them and then sue to get out of those contracts. Any money we've given them, fine, we won't get it back, but don't give them another penny. And if we have to start over from scratch, I mean, rip the lines out and put new ones in, so be it. These people that have screwed this up as badly as they have should never be allowed to profit off taxpayers again.
Yeah. Yeah, here.
Get it done. But that doesn't mean that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. We can get rid of the bike lanes. We can add more transit, or at least try and get the transit we were promised working. We could buy back the 407. Apparently, we're going to build the 413. All right. I don't know why we need it if we buy back the 407, but we are building the Bradford bypass, and it looks like things are going pretty well. What else I want to do? I don't want to do anything too depressing today, but we do have an update on Liam Payne.
We do, and yeah, it is sad. So what we do is we have both reports and also official word from law enforcement there in Argentina. So it is an apparent death by suicide. So
they're saying suicide now?
They are saying that it was intentional. The reasoning why he did it, seemingly fueled by drugs and alcohol, but also because he couldn't procure more drugs. It's getting really muddy there because apparently there was a conversation that was leaked between, it was over WhatsApp or something like that, between hotel staff at that particular hotel that he was staying, where they said, we're going to get in a lot of trouble because they helped him get the drugs to begin with. Oh. And then apparently he was asking for more and more. And when they refused or they couldn't find it, I don't know, obviously we don't know the full story here. That's when he trashed his room. And we do know that he did do that.
So those pictures were legit of like the smashed TV and everything?
I won't say 100%, but that's what's going around. And they did confirm that there was stuff happening in the room at the time. Before this happened, they had witnesses that had told them they heard shouting. He was by himself in the room at the time, but there was shouting, kicking of the TV and throwing of objects. People called down to the hotel like, something's going on here. They called 911, as you guys might know, and there is a 911 call available to listen if you want to. It's in Spanish, but it's available to listen if you want to.
Sure, somebody could translate.
Translated, though, it is basically, I'm worried for the safety of this guy because he was saying that he's going to end it then. He's going to end it kind of thing. So they said, get down here immediately because we're afraid of what's going to happen to this guy.
And he did jump.
So it was, it seems as though he kind of threatened to do something to himself before this. That is not an official police report. Like I told you, this is just reports and some leaked things, and we know how this goes. People are really intrigued to know more. His bandmates finally said something yesterday, and also up until early this morning when Niall Horan spoke out. I was curious what Niall would say because he was with him like a couple of days before that. He's the reason why he went to Argentina to perform with him. Oh. So, man, like I just, the whole situation is sad. Liam's been open about his issues in the past, I guess, his drug issue. I don't follow all the One Direction members. There's a couple of them I do, but otherwise not really. But I guess he's been quite open in the past about how he suffered from addiction and alcohol abuse and things like that. Yeah. I haven't seen anything he's written, but apparently he has written about it before. Nonetheless, it's awful.
He needed help. And he didn't get it. And that makes me sad, And he's not the only one. He's a celebrity, and that's why this one gets attention. But unfortunately, and you don't hear it on the news, but this happens every single day.
All the time.
Here in Ontario as well.
All the time.
And sometimes it's going off a balcony. Sometimes it's just stepping in front of a train. There's any number of ways that it's happening, but it is happening. And these are people that otherwise would be happy, productive members of society, and maybe their parents. There's certainly sons or daughters or brothers or sisters, and it breaks my heart that we don't have more things in place to help people when they need it. Because when you get to that decision where you've decided, not only am I going to kill myself, then you actually go ahead and take action on it to do it, we failed you.
Yeah.
And that's the way it feels to me. Like I said, it's tragic about Liam, absolutely, but I'm also thinking about other people every day that deal with this. And I'm glad we've got that suicide helpline. So glad we've got it. I don't know if it's working. I don't know what happens when you call it, but I'm glad to know that we do have one. I hope more people take advantage of it, especially if they've come to that point where they're ready. They're just ready to do it. And I don't know if this was caused by drugs or he really was just ready to do it, but it feels like we failed him and everybody who ends up in that situation because there was help available. We just didn't get it to them in time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned there's so many different suicide prevention, or just even if you feel like you have to talk to somebody, it's good to know that it's there, and I wish more people did know about it. And it's difficult because every situation's different. Sometimes there's people who have asked for help and didn't really get it, but you never know what people are going through, because the other part to that is people who decided not to, but were going to, but something that day changed their mind, right? We've heard these stories before where it's like, I was about to do it, but then I got a call from someone, or then I was reached out to. So be kind, I know is one of the messages that actually one of the members, I think it was Harry, posted on his post, because he's seeing what you can imagine people are seeing. Well, if he's a drug addict, there's people who are so insensitive to it, that don't understand it, that speak on something that they know nothing about. And I think I agree with Harry Styles, if that was him, and I'm sorry if I'm mistaken him. I'm pretty sure it was at the end of his post, that you need to go forward with kindness first. You don't understand the whole circumstance, and you don't even understand what it's like.
Every single person out there is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Every single person. I got issues. Kat's got issues. You've probably got issues listening right now. And you don't necessarily let those out and let other people in to tell them what's going on. Maybe you don't. Maybe you keep it bottled up or whatever. And that's why you've got to keep in mind that everybody is dealing with something. You don't want to be the one who puts them over the edge just because you feel like being an asshole.
Yeah.
And there's some people who don't have any filter at all. And you're right. They'll go on a post like that, paying tribute to a friend who I think was... somebody let him down by not getting him the help he needed. And when people want to post about that death and how sad they are and things like that, and others weigh in with, well, he was a drug addict, who cares? I don't accept that at all. I think that's vile. I think that makes it even more sad that they had addiction issues and people knew it and people still didn't get him the help that he needed. So it's heartbreaking.
If you can't be positive and you can't be a light in this world, what are you doing? What are you doing?
There are some people who just walk around being miserable because they're miserable and they want to drag everybody else down. And I hate it.
Much like we do in broadcasting, because we're on this topic, we always like to give out the information for Canada. 988 is the suicide crisis helpline. Keeping it nice and easy, 988. If you didn't know, make sure you remember those three numbers, because you never know if you share it with someone who might need it. 988.
Why isn't that on every single billboard and posted at every single intersection in the country? We have a crisis going on right now, and frankly, I don't understand why this suicide prevention line isn't more widely published. I'll bet you if we walked down King Street there and asked 50 people, half of them wouldn't even know that we have a line that you can call.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't know what the difference is. Is the Kids Help line run by the government, or is that a separate organization?
Ooh, good question. I don't know that.
I should look into that, and I'll try to find out for the next time we have this conversation, because I feel they do a pretty good job at advertising it. But you're absolutely right, and then I don't see a lot of that for the suicide prevention line that we just mentioned.
One more thing, and it's kind of on topic. We were talking about people who just are assholes. They're just miserable, and they do want to bring other people down. They make comments that are inappropriate, and it's like people have lost their filter. Your Facebook post from yesterday, looking through the comments, and you tagged me. That was great. Kat and I did a broadcast at Canadian Tire, a brand new one in Kitchener yesterday, Stanley Park Mall. Great location, real great owner. It was nice to meet him, and it's nice to know that there are real people behind some of these big, big box stores. And I'm going through the comments here because it was a picture of you and I. Here's one. Damn, Scott Fox is getting old. I don't know if you're playing around or if you're just a fucking idiot, but why would you write that?
Either way, it's a stupid thing to write.
You don't think I realize I'm getting a little old? My hair's getting a little gray? Like, honestly, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Why would you write that to anybody?
Absolutely agree with you. I don't, and that's the thing, is if it came from I realize I've been listening to you like a long time, whatever, like I understand certain comments maybe can pass as like, okay, maybe you didn't mean that in a negative way. But when you're saying it in a negative way, and by the way, that guy's getting just as old as however long you did in that amount of time.
We're all getting older.
We're all getting older. I think it's one of the problems too with putting yourself out there the way that we do. Not everybody does that. Not everybody has a profession where they're like, here's photos of me and here's me doing my thing. And then we're into, many years doing this and we're still, hey, here's us out on location. We are vulnerable to that for sure. And yes, we're all getting older. I don't understand where that comes from. But can I just say the men seem to be so bad at doing that. They're so rude.
Guys are assholes.
They're assholes, and I notice it on posts, not just necessarily about us or whatever, but in general on Facebook, like, oh, looks like you could use a diet. Jeff, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. And I'm just thinking like, why the fuck did you hit send on that? Like, what are you trying to do? And I feel like men especially feel the need like they have to brush it off and say, oh, yeah, well, I know my wife is telling me the same thing. It's like the similar thing. And I've seen it in person, too, where I'm like, who the fuck says that to somebody? I don't know. I don't even know why you think that's appropriate. Yeah,
it's mind-boggling. And the difference between women and men, and I'm seeing, it seems like women have figured it out. If I go on your post and you've posted, hey, got my hair cut yesterday, I'm going to see 100 comments from women and men saying, wow, you look great. You look awesome. Your hair looks good. Who did your hair? You can see it. You go, girl. We know what goes on there. Guy posts a picture of his new haircut and they shit all over each other. And if that's like the locker room mentality,
I think
pick your moments. And social media, it doesn't translate. Yeah. For all I know, this guy isn't a fucking loser. Maybe he just thought that would be funny. It wasn't funny. It's never going to be funny to anybody.
Yeah.
I have a thick skin, so as much as it's a little annoying, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But maybe you say that to somebody else, and that's the final nail in the coffin, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's
Use your fucking head.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, too, is like we are used to it. We have grown a thick skin through the years because, sure, we've heard all kinds of things about us, whether you're talking about our appearance or, we have no problem if you want to give your opinions on what we say. That's
fair game.
That's fair game. That's what we do for a living. You could disagree with us and we can have that conversation as long as it is a conversation and not trash talk. But when you try to pick apart things about what someone looks like or what they decided to wear, because I've gotten comments on that before too, where it's like, that's not your color. Like, who the fuck? Like, why the fuck would you say that? Like, who cares? And why do you care so much? Like, what's wrong in your life right now that you feel the need to do that? I really just put it back to there's something going on with those people that do that.
There must be.
They don't want to look at themselves for whatever reason. And I hope that things get better. But I think it's a lesson that needs to be learned for some people. Learn that lesson. Don't do that shit. It doesn't translate. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how's our time here? Because there's 2 more things I want to get to.
We have like 6 or 7 minutes.
Okay, number 1, tweet went out yesterday, and it reminded me, it was like a throwback. The tweet is from Justin Trudeau. Now, I know that when I say Justin Trudeau, some people are instantly turned off. They don't want to hear it. But I'm going to say something nice about Justin Trudeau because it was from back before all this shit happened. He tweeted yesterday, 6 years ago today, we changed an outdated law that took profits away from criminals and made our communities safer. We legalized cannabis across Canada.
Oh, there it is.
I don't know what Justin Trudeau's enduring legacy is going to be. I don't know if he's going to be remembered as the prime minister who enabled treasonous members of parliament. I don't know if he'll be the guy who will be remembered for the Freedom Convoy and his mandates, or if he'll be the guy that's remembered as the one who legalized marijuana. But either way, I'm real happy he did, because I don't think there's anybody out there that thinks people should be in jail because they got caught with a half gram of fucking weed.
Do we still have people in jail?
Good question.
For that reason?
If we do, I'm sure that they're out 6 years later. I don't think you really got that big of a penalty for it. And you know what? It never should have been illegal in the first place. I don't know who thought it was a good idea or why, but I understand we had different values way back when they made it criminal. It needed to be, at the minimum, decriminalized. Legalized, I think, is the right measure, and Justin Trudeau did that, rightfully so. So full credit to him. But let's talk about what's happened since then. It's been 6 years. Can you remember, by the way, when we were getting ready for legalization? Same thing as always. Mm-hmm. People freaking out about, we're going to have overdoses in the streets and all this bullshit. None of it ever came to fruition.
We certainly are, but it has nothing to do with marijuana.
No, in fact, if anything, that's probably helping avoid some of them because people will cope with that as opposed to going to harder stuff.
Correct.
In any case, 6 years later, it is not a bit stronger than it used to be, and that is still the biggest complaint about the cannabis stores is they're very limited in what they can sell and the potency of what they can sell. And those who are really into cannabis have figured out or already knew if you want the good stuff, you still got to go to a private person. The stuff at the cannabis stores is great, but the stuff on the street is more powerful. For me personally, I'm just glad to know that this was controlled, it was supervised, it was ethically grown. Presumably somebody at Health Canada or whoever is making sure that the quality is good. There's nothing else in it that you don't want. I'm good with having that system there. I'm okay with the price points. I know some people still say, it's cheaper to buy it on the street. Is it really that much cheaper? And is it worth the ticket you're going to get if you get caught with stuff that you didn't buy legally?
Or the questionable ingredients in it. Do you know what I mean? Because like you mentioned, we know that it's safe being sold by the government. I don't know what anything's laced with. And sure, I could trust you as far as I maybe know you, but that's about it. That's where it ends. I don't know for certain what's in here.
I think that we need to make a little more progress, though, when it comes to cannabis. Now that it's been 6 years, let's make a little more progress. And legalizing it is where Justin Trudeau comes into it and out of it. Everything now falls under the provinces. So here in Ontario, we've still got some pretty outdated laws. Do we really need to have those windows completely papered over? Do we really need to have somebody at the velvet rope checking IDs of every single person before they even get into the store? Or have we evolved beyond that? Can we look at some of the irony here? Like, you can take your children into the LCBO. They can walk around, they can touch, they can look. Some of those drinks look like a kid's drink.
Pretty displays too, aren't there?
Very pretty displays.
You could look right in the window and see them.
But then you go into a pot store. You can't even get in if you're under 19. You're going to get ID'd if you look even close to under 40. You got to wait behind this velvet rope for somebody to come out and greet you, and the windows are papered over. Could we at least get to a point where we can put like a mid-level frosting across the windows so natural light can still get in? You know, I worry about people that are working alone in these pot shops, a store that's full of money and drugs. And you've papered over the windows, so if shit's going on in there, nobody is going to be able to know or call 911 until somebody comes bursting out the window. I think it's a safety issue. I also think it's a bit of a convenience issue. So not the most pressing issue by any means. But if we ever do decide to revisit the cannabis laws, I think that A, we could probably go a little bit stronger. We could dial up the THC potency just a little bit, and that would further help cut out the black market. Legalization did not cancel the black market. It's still out there. But we could do more damage to that black market if we would make it a little bit more potent. Be conscious of the price. We can't raise those taxes any more than they already are, so leave them. But let's give the pot shop owners, entrepreneurs, employers a little more freedom to run their business the way they want to run their business. And maybe the pot shop's business model is we paper over our windows because we value the privacy of our customers. We don't want someone to worry that when they're browsing for edibles, somebody's going to walk down the sidewalk and recognize them. Okay, if you want to paper over your windows for customer privacy, go right ahead. But if you want your windows open and sunshine to come in and so on and so forth, I think you should be allowed to do it. Everything in the store is pretty well hidden. No kid is going to walk by a cannabis store and think, oh boy, a candy store. It's not going to happen. Everything's locked up. It's in display cases. It's
and
fine.
it can continue to be locked up. And even at the back, I don't know about the ones you guys go into, but there's like a back area at the one near me. So it's like there's a wall. And you can't even get to the product. Everything's locked up outside, and then they have to go to the back to get the product from the back. You can't even reach for it.
Let's let business owners run their business. They want to have an open concept store and windows that you can see through. I don't see any problem with it. It's not we're not corrupting children or anything like that. We got to get rid of that negative attitude and just let business people be business people. We have to do this one quick, but I told you yesterday that on today's pod, I would tell you the 10 things that men should never ask women. The author of Double Your Dating is named David D'Angelo. He says there's 10 top dating tips to guide men on what they should never say to a woman. You ready to break it down?
Sure.
Actually, you know what? I might even get Octavia in for this too. Would that be okay with you? I know your voice is kind of struggling a little bit. Maybe I can take some of the pressure off. Would that work?
Sure.
Okay, hang on. Octavia.
You know what? While you're texting Octavia, I want to let you guys know on the show, we gave away that trip, as we mentioned off the top of the pod, which was very exciting. But we have another contest running called Cash Rally. And I have a feeling it's going to get really interesting next week. We have a returning champion,
Kyle.
now 2-time returning champion, named Kyle. So he's playing for $300 on Monday morning. We play Cash Rally just after 8 o'clock is when you'll hear that cue to text in. And it's a text in first, and then we'll call you if you're the official qualifier that'll be up against Kyle, for example, coming up on Monday. It's at $300 now. We can go up to $500. And Kyle's already said, I'm all for nothing. I am going for it. So if he wins again, it's going to be $400. If he wins again, it's going to be $500 cash. So another incentive definitely to listen to us on those morning shows, which are on 91.5 The Beat and Energy 95.3. We're on from 5:30 to 9:30 every weekday morning. So we do invite you to enjoy that. You can find us on the iHeart app as well if you don't get those stations where you are. But Cash Rally is such a fun game. It's a game of categories. That's what it is, basically. And we name the category, and you go back and forth until you just can't. We played it live on location yesterday, which was really funny.
I got my ass kicked by regular people off the street. It was bad.
It was awesome.
This is why I should host a game show and not participate in them. Still lobbying for that. Okay, so let's go through it here. The 10 things men should never ask women. This is from the book Double Your Dating. A man should never ask a woman if he can kiss her, as she will only say a man should never ask for a kiss. Asking for a kiss will only make a man look like a boy, which is what women are not interested in. And even if she says yes, it could mean she's just being polite. Well, on the inside, her attraction meter is going to be a firm no.
Interesting.
Don't ask, go. There's a consensual issue here, though.
No, yeah. I mean, this is where I have an issue, because if you know for sure and they keep leaning in and they're like, "Come on, just kiss me," kind of thing, and they give you that vibe, and you truly are good at feeling out someone's vibe, I could say that's a maybe. I think there's nothing wrong with that, and I actually don't think it gives ick, which is essentially what this is saying. If somebody asks, I think it can be really hot. Maybe it's got to be the right person asking, of course, but by all means, if you're attracted to that person and you like that person, they say, "Can I kiss you right now?" Then you're going to say, "Fucking right, you can." And I don't think that that's unattractive at all.
What if you don't ask, but you warn, "I'm going to kiss you"? That gives them an opportunity to pull away. It's still in the right moment with the right people. It might be a sensual kind of thing. I'm not the expert. I didn't write the book.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Number 2, a man should never ask a woman if he can take her out on a date sometime. She would like to be with a man who's a leader and in control.
That's true.
Not someone who asks her permission to hit on her. He says a man should confidently ask a woman out by simply saying, "We should hang out. What's your number?" Or tell her a specific place he wants to take her. "Hey, I want to take you to the Christmas market, and we'll go for oysters after that. What do you think?"
Yeah.
That's a better way to do it.
I agree. Be straightforward, especially if you're the one asking them out. Regardless of who it is, if you're the one asking them out, have a plan. Don't be like, "Want to go out sometime? And what do you kind of like to do?" Like, no. Say, "This is what I want to do. What are you doing tomorrow night? Can that work for you?"
Right. We're doing the top 10 things that men should never ask women, and we're going to bring in Octavia, who is the producer of the Scott and Kat Show, and we're going to need you here because Kat's down to like the final few words that she can say, all right? So you can tell us if you agree or disagree with any of these, just like Kat would. A man should never brag about the car he has or the kind of house he lives in. It seems like you're trying too hard to impress her. Women would be far more impressed by a man's material possessions if he doesn't mention them in a conversation.
Yeah, it seems kind of showy. And for the whole car thing, as much as your car goes vroom and it's loud and it's whatever, most ladies, I would say, don't really care. So,
right. Yeah, I've never understood the car thing. I don't know why this is a bragging thing. Like, "Ooh, check it out. I got a Mustang." Good for you. I have a Hyundai, and it's fine. It gets me to the exact same place and almost as fast as yours does.
I think it's red flaggy when someone show off like that. Like, "Oh, you see, my Rolex is blah, blah, blah." Like,
yeah, what are you compensating
exactly.
for?
You're definitely doing that because you can't bring anything else to the table.
100%.
That's a red flag.
A man should never ask a woman what she wants to do for the night, as she likes a man with a plan. The man needs to have a game plan before he even calls her, So to ensure that she will not be burdened with having to think about what we're going to do. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you want to go out on a date, ask her on a date, have a plan. Don't show up and say, so what do you want to do?
On that note, I wonder how many couples who've been together a long time can't stand that still. Like, so what are we going to do tonight? Is it always put on one person? Or is that, it would be kind of nice in a relationship in general if the person was like, you know what? There's a new arcade that opened up that serves drinks and it looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to take you there on Saturday.
That's how you do it.
Even in a relationship, like let's continue to do these kinds of things. I think that's nice.
A little assertiveness. It's not.
Little assertiveness.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you, Kat. A man should never ask a woman if she likes him. This is one phrase that turns a woman off completely. He should just assume she likes him and never actually ask the question. It looks like he has no confidence. Have you ever been asked, do you like me?
I feel like, yeah, and it's just kind of icky. I don't know. Like,
Because what do you say to that if you don't?
It's
or if you're not sure?
Yeah, well,
I don't know. Neither confirm nor deny.
I like your car.
yeah, like, you shouldn't have to, like, be straight up. Your actions and everything should kind of indicate. And if you're not sure, then they probably don't like you.
A man should never ask a woman why she never answered his message. As one, it would show that he cared she didn't reply back. And two, it would give her a guilt trip, which is seen as insecurity by women. I don't know. If she didn't call you back, I would just assume she has a good reason for not calling you back. That's not how I need to begin the conversation. I'll just carry on with whatever the reason was that I reached out to her in the first place. Why get focused on that?
It just, again, comes off as, like, needy. Well, why didn't you call me? No, nobody wants that.
And as Mean Girls fans will know, why are you so obsessed with me? God.
A man should never ask a woman how many men she has slept with. It shows that he is suffering from insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. What does that matter? If you're in the new relationship with that person, what should it matter?
Can we leave the body count out of it altogether? I don't know why anyone wants to know what you did in the past. I don't want to think of my girlfriend with another man. No, there were others before me, and that's just a fact of life. I don't want to think about it, though. I'm sure shit not going to invite the conversation.
Yeah, I think life is about moving forward, or it should be. Right? Life should be about just moving forward. So let's just not worry about whatever happened. Let's be faithful to one another. I think that's what matters most.
Keep it in your pants.
Right? And let's move along here.
A man should never hint at a future date with a woman he has just met, as she not only wants but needs a guy who is somewhat of a challenge. She'll lose interest if she senses she has won. So you ask her out, you don't hint at it. Am I reading into that one correctly?
I think so. I mean, you want to be direct.
Yep.
And you don't want to go a roundabout way, because then it's just confusion. You need communication.
So if I'm trying to think of the practical application of this, I guess the conversation would go something like, hey, maybe we can get together again sometime in the future. She knows that you like her at that point and that you want another date. She's won and you're not a challenge anymore. She loses interest. You have to go into that and say, Saturday or Sunday, which day works better for you? Because I really want to take you to this restaurant.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It goes back to the assertiveness. It's true.
A man should never end a phone conversation with a woman with a next step. As firstly, it would kill any spontaneity by being predictable. And secondly, he would kill any chance of her calling him. Again, a man should never end a phone conversation with a woman with a next step. What would the next step be?
Maybe like more like another plan type thing, or like leaving something hanging and open. I don't know.
I don't get
Yeah, I'm
that
not
one.
sure what that means.
A man should never talk bad about a woman's guy friends, especially if he hasn't met them or doesn't know her very well. This is the fastest way for her to mark him as insecure.
Well, you shouldn't talk bad about anybody's friends, because it will come back around.
Yeah.
Especially when you first start dating someone, like, could you imagine? And then they want to critique your friend group. That's a quick way to be like, okay, we can't make this work.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
Okay, this is specifically about a woman's guy friends, but what about the ex? Because I'm going to suggest that talking shit about the ex, I mean, if she wants to talk shit about her ex, you can just nod and smile and go along with it. I don't know that you should necessarily jump in when you've never met the guy. it's kind of a bad look.
But so in that scenario, by the way, why is anyone even bringing up their ex so much? You never should.
I agree, but some people have like parenting arrangements that they have to coordinate or stuff like that.
Sure.
There's the fear of the ex coming back, though, too. Like, if they're talking about the ex and you're talking badly about the ex, they could still go back to them. So if you say all these bad things about their ex and then they end up back toward their ex, they're going to, I remember when you said all those horrible things. Now it just doesn't look good.
Those are the 10. Hopefully you learned something, everybody. Rewind, listen again if you need that.
Do better.
Do better and grow up. Be a man, goddammit. Oh, there's our cue.
I'm losing it.
Cat's got to go. We got to go.
Right.
Dave is not here, so unfortunately, you might miss an important part of the Friday podcast. I'll just try it out. Octavia, do we owe anybody an apology?
We should probably apologize to Mike Tyson.
Thank you. Okay, good. We didn't miss that.
Excellent. I think that's all that matters.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday.